I will review this budget braided line, which is called Thinner, and company which produces this line is called like this. I will try to pronounce it. Leydun is the name of the company. If I pronounce it wrong, let me know in the comments below. And I will compare this, as I say, very budget braided line to probably one of the best on the market, which is called YGK or X-Braid. And I will do that comparison in a very simple manner. I have a few categories in the table which I will use to compare those two lines, and I will give those lines a mark, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. And categories are as follows: strength, diameter, roundness, stiffness, abrasion resistance, smoothness, and value. So I'll go ahead and will write or fill in the first column with the name. So it will be Leydun braided line, and I will go with PE 0.4, and here will be X-Braid PE 0.4. So yeah, I hope you'll find this comparison and review useful. Stick around. The packaging is very basic. Paper shell, and then we have a plastic spool with the line. Nothing fancy, very basic packaging, which is good. Also, you will notice that they do state diameter, and in Japanese markings as well, and length on the spool of the line, but they do not state the strength of the line. One thing what I always do when I'm ordering lines, I always try to get white in color, or as close to white as possible. You see, braided lines, if they are colored, it means that some color or colorings being infused into the line, and then they will fade out and they will bleed onto the guides, reels, roller, and so on. And really, there is no need for that, and I always prefer white line in any case. So yeah, when buying braided lines, no matter cheap or expensive ones, get yourself white ones if you can. Now I will grab another line which I will be comparing this budget to. Alright, here we are. So now I will move those lines a little bit aside and will start writing the marks for those two lines. So when it comes to the strength, definitely this thinner is a little bit weaker than this YGK. So I will give X-Braid, let's say 8, and here I will give 6. Again, this is based on my tests when it comes to testing thinner lines. So of a diameter 0.2 or weight PE 0.2 on both, and this YGK was a little bit stronger, like 1.7 kilos or something like that, even though it's a little bit thinner, but I will come to that. Okay, diameter. So here I will give 10 to YGK or X-Braid and 7 to Thinner. You see, this X-Braid is by far the thinnest braided line when it comes to Japanese markings. So if I would take, for example, Varivas or Gosen or whatever at PE 0.4, this X-Braid would be thinner. And therefore, this line gets 10 mark or grade when it comes to diameter. And this budget one is definitely a little bit thicker than that. Therefore, it gets 7. Now when it comes to the roundness, again, that's a 4 carrier braid, that and that, so they won't be as round as, let's say, 8 or 12 carrier braids. So I will give 8 for YGK. It's definitely rounder than thinner. And I will give 7 for the roundness for thinner. Now when it comes to the stiffness, actually I will give 6 to YGK because it's very, very stiff. I don't like that. It's actually too stiff and often it can cause some issues. Again, you don't want the braided line to be too soft because then it will cause other problems like wraparounds, rod stip and so on. But still, this is not ideal or not optimal in my opinion. It's too stiff. And thinner actually when it comes to the stiffness is better. I prefer that. So I'm giving 8 to thinner because it's definitely better, at least for my taste, when it comes to stiffness. It's not as stiff as this X-Braid, but it's not soft line either. So it kind of strikes a good balance and it causes zero problems pretty much when you are out in the field fishing. Okay, now abrasion resistance. I have to say this line is not abrasion resistant at all. It might be to do because it's very fine or what, but when I hook a big fish close to some like weeds, I'm not talking some like, you know, hard structures, but this line often like cuts off into the weeds. It happened a few times already and also from various diameters. So abrasion resistance is not very good. So I will give like 7 here and I will give 7 here as well, even though this one is better when it comes to abrasion resistance for the same diameter or for the same PE markings. But it might be to do, as I say, with the diameter. This is a little bit thicker than this, but still I will give 7 because, you know, that's a better line when it comes to abrasion resistance. Okay, let's move on. Next category, smoothness. And this X-Braid is definitely smoother than this one. Again, I've seen smoother lines, even 4 carrier ones, but I'm comparing these two. So I will give smoothness for X-Braid 9, and here it's definitely not as smooth, so I will give here 7. And really, last point is not sure whether it makes sense or not. I will give like, I don't know, 2 and 10 here, because difference is huge when it comes to the prices. For example, for this thinner, depending where you are and where you will buy from, but you will pay like, I don't know, 3 pounds per spool, and for this X-Braid you will pay about 20, let's say, dollars or pounds per spool. So difference is about like from 5 to 7 times, depending where you will be getting or buying these lines from. All right, we have our table filled, and to make the conclusion is not really easy, but it's not difficult either. It goes like this. It depends really what is the most important to you in certain situations. If you only care about strength and diameter and price is not really a problem, then definitely you should be looking at the most expensive lines you can get your hands on, so YGK or X-Braid. But in all other situations, this line will perform better. For example, you see the stiffness is better, it will cost you less, or it causes at least me less issues when it comes to casting, so it casts better and so on. Also, abrasion resistance is very, very important. I don't think that I ever had a problem when fish would cut me when it's going through the weed. With this line, it happened to me a few times already, so I'm always sweating when I hook a big fish and there are some weeds around. I'm not talking about hard structure here. This line is very, very fragile when it comes to abrasion resistance. It cuts through quite easily. It might be to do with a very low diameter, not sure, but again, I would not trust this line fishing around the snags like in this diameter or much higher. And value tells everything really when it comes to it. So around or from 5 to 7 times this line is cheaper than this one. So again, you might say that you are getting what you are paying for, but it's not that easy, because this line has some grades or marks which are better, at least for my style of fishing, than this expensive one. So again, I don't want to beat around the bush too long. It depends. What are your priorities? As I mentioned, if you are looking just at those two, then the comparison is quite simple really. This one is better. In all other cases, this one is better, at least for me, and I'm saving quite a bit as well. So yeah, I hope you'll find this video useful, and if you will decide to check this braided line out, I will leave links in the description below. But that's it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.